So this month is going to be our Advanced Elm Night. So Elm is the electronic library for Minnesota, and we introduced it to you previously, but just briefly. So this month what we're going to do is have an Advanced Elm session. We're going to show you some advanced features in the databases, and we'll talk about some databases that we maybe didn't mention previously. And when it comes to looking at these databases and thinking about research, I want you to think like a librarian. So when it comes to how librarians do research, we know a little bit more about how the web is arranged and how to search these databases. So I want you to think of some of these things as we go forward. And one thing you need to think about is how the internet is arranged and how information is arranged. So when it comes to information available online, I want you to know about the visible versus the invisible web. So the visible web is all the stuff you can find that you can access when you search Google or Bing or Yahoo. So it's all that stuff that you can search Google for and you can find access to and you can read it and you can look at it and you can interact with it. It's all the stuff you can find. And yes, there is a lot of information there. Google has indexed over 1 trillion web pages, so we know there's a lot of information available. However, some of that information, when you're searching, it's behind a paywall. It may ask you to pay for it to read it. So there are certain things that you can't access. And those things that you can't access, that's called the invisible web. So the invisible web includes things that are behind a paywall, but it also includes things that are not searchable by search engines. And what that means is that Google can't do a search in the Elm databases to find materials. Google can't go do a search for you in those databases and retrieve anything. You have to go retrieve things from those databases. So all that stuff that's behind a database like that, which includes even more information than is available in the surface web, it's called the invisible web. So I want you to think of things like databases when you think of the invisible web. And here's kind of a graphic representation of this idea. So at the top we see that Google, Yahoo, MSN, that they can give you a lot of information that's on the surface web. All of that free stuff that's online that you can access when you search those search engines. And here it says it's about 20%, and I'd say that percentage has gone up. This graphic is a little bit older, so that percentage has probably gone up. However, it's still nowhere near as large as the invisible web or the deep web. The invisible web, I do want you to think of databases because there's a lot of information out there that requires payment to look at that information. And through a lot of library databases, the library is paid for access to all of that information. Now, certainly the Elm databases cannot give you access to everything that is in the invisible web, but you get access to a lot more materials if you start using things like library databases to access that information. So here's another little representation of, I want you to think of the visible web as the top of the iceberg. It's the stuff you can see, you can interact with when you're searching Google and you're searching things like Bing. And then I want you to think of the electronic library for Minnesota as the deep web. The stuff that you have to have access to through a library, through a database, that's not available to everyone on the internet. You know, you have to be in the state of Minnesota or a Minnesota resident with a public library card to access the Elm databases. They're paid for citizens of our state, and there's a lot of information there. But not everyone in the world has access to it, and Google can't search it. Google cannot do searches in search engines like that for you. So there's actually all this other information. So if you're only using the visible web, you're really only getting a small piece of the iceberg. You're not seeing all that other stuff down below. Now, one other thing that can actually help you search the visible web a little bit better is something called the Internet Public Library. So in this video, what I'm going to show you is a little bit about the Internet Public Library. And again, that helps you access the visible web a little bit better. And then I'm going to share with you the Electronic Library for Minnesota. And I'm going to share some databases that maybe you didn't realize were out there. So here's what the Internet Public Library's website looks like, and it's just ipl.org. I do have that linked in the wiki under December. And then here is the Electronic Library of Minnesota, or for Minnesota, elmforyou.org. So I'm going to get out of this and I'm going to show you both of these now. So here I'm in Safari now, and here is the Internet Public Library's website. Now, what the Internet Public Library is that it is a collection of credible resources put together by librarians for you to search. Now, these are all resources that are freely available online that you could potentially find while searching Google. However, as we've seen before with Google, when you do a search there, you can kind of find a lot of crap mixed in with the good stuff. And you have to kind of weed through some of those crappy websites to look at some of the good ones. So what this is that this is a group of librarians who find all of the good websites and put them together for you. So there's not as much crap to weed through here. They get rid of all that for you. So this is actually a great place to send students. But there's one other thing about this before I do a search. You know, when you search Google, you get millions of results because they have indexed over 1 trillion web pages. Here, there's thousands of results, or thousands of web pages they've indexed. So your results are much less here. So let me just show you. I'm going to do a search here. If you were having students research a president, let me just search for Abraham Lincoln. Now, when you do a search here, you can see out of my results, there are only 107 results. Now, if you do a simple search for Abraham Lincoln on Google, you will get millions of results. So this is something I want you to keep in mind, is that you do have less results. However, if we scroll down and look at the results are much more credible and much more useful for students who were doing something on Abraham Lincoln. And even if these students got to the bottom of the page and clicked on Next to look at all the other results, page after page is going to be results from much more credible websites than what you would find on the first page or the second page of search results for Google. But do keep in mind that there's not as much indexed here. So Google has indexed over 1 trillion web pages, but here they've indexed thousands. That's still a lot of web pages, but keep in mind, if you're kind of expecting a lot more results, you have to know that there's not as many here, but they are more credible. And I'll give an example. One teacher I know, she did a really long search, because I know I just gave you a lot of search suggestions when you search Google on how to limit your results and find better results. That was in the Google video that I gave you for September. But in there, you know, you're searching through trillions of web pages, so you do want to use a lot of search terms and try to come up with the best results you can possibly find. Now here, since all the websites that they're kind of vetting for this are credible, you don't need to use as many search terms, and you want to search more broadly. So here you really could come and search for Abraham Lincoln, and you'll find good results when you're searching. So keep that in mind when you search the Internet Public Library. But you also don't have to search it if you don't want to, because they have a lot of different websites put together, or different collections put together to help you find things. So you can click on For Kids, and you could use the search bar here, and you see it'll search just the kids section of the Internet Public Library. Or you could use these different web pages they've put together of different suggested things. So if we look at like math and science and animals, if you have students doing a project on animals, if we click on that, what you're going to see is a collection of resources that they suggest you use for animals. So we have 174 resources. However, you could click on, okay, I really want dinosaurs and fossils. You could click on dinosaurs and fossils, and now you see 21 resources of 21 good websites they suggest for dinosaurs and fossils. So you can look at all the categories and things they have like this too. I'm going to click on this icon. It brings you back to the home page. So that was for kids, but we can look at for teens too. And again, if you use the search bar, it's going to search for teens here. Or you could click on one of their areas. So if we click on graphic novels, we can see it's an interesting way they have this set up. You can look at history and basics or go find webcomics. And if you click on history and basics, what you'll see is another thing they also do at the Internet Public Library is sometimes you'll run across kind of short encyclopedia articles, or encyclopedia-like articles, that give you information. So here is kind of a short article giving information about, well, what is a graphic novel? And then of course there's websites and print resources available too. But sometimes you run across little entries like this that look like little encyclopedia entries for students. So I'm not going to go any more on about the Internet Public Library, but what I want you to do is play around in this. There's a link to it under December in the wiki, and I want you to go and just do some searches for some assignments that you might have for students and see what you find here. Is what you find here more credible than what you find when you're searching Google? It may be, and this may be a resource where you want to send your students. So now I'm going to go to the Elm Databases. So here's Electronic Library for Minnesota. And I know we talked about this website before, and you did some searches in some databases. But this month what's going to happen is we're going to show you advanced features. And when I say we, it's actually not going to be me. What we're going to do, I'm going to quick jump to this website. This is the Minitex website. So Minitex, they are a library organization that they maintain the Elm databases, and they have reference librarians who provide training on how to use the Elm databases, and they make videos on how to use it and different things. I actually put a bunch of links of little tutorials they've created about different databases. I put that in our wiki. But what's actually going to happen is it won't be me instructing you on advanced features, but one of these 4 people will be coming and leading our session for the evening. So these are the real experts in the Elm databases. So they're going to be coming and they're going to be showing us some advanced features and some extra databases that might be useful. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump back to Elm, what I'm going to do is just show you some databases that you may not be familiar with, that you may not have realized were there. Now, there's all these different ways to access the databases. You know, you can choose a topic and then see the databases listed. You can choose a grade level and see suggested databases by grade level. But I'm going to click on Databases A to Z, and you can then choose databases using this drop-down menu, or you can click on the Databases A to Z link. And I'm going to click on that because what I'm going to do is go through this list and just highlight some databases that might be of use to some of you. So there's a long list of databases, and you can always, of course, come through here and find any databases that you're interested in. But I'm going to show you some that might be useful. I believe they're going to show us Academic Search Premier and then some of these Britannica ones. So I'm going to skip over these, and I want to highlight some other things that are here. So one that might be of use to you is called Cameo. Cameo is the Catalog of Art Museum Images Online, and there's a bunch of different museums that participate, including the Minnesota Institute of Arts, So this is Cameo. This is the Catalog of Art Museum Images Online. And there's a bunch of different museums that participate in this, including, so this is Cameo. It is the Catalog of Art Museum Images Online. And there's a bunch of different museums that have participated in this, including the Minneapolis Institute of Arts and the Walker. So you'll even see some artwork from some local museums that's included here. But Cameo, it has a lot of great things. You can do a search here, or you can just browse through some of the things that are here. So if I click on photographs, it will bring me a large list of items that are here. But what's nice is that for these items, you can click on them to get a larger image. So it'll pop up here, and they're really fabulous images of the pieces of art. But you can also click on where it says View a High Resolution, and if you click on that, it'll open up a new window here, And in this new window, it's going to open up a large image, but also there's a download this image button. So you can see it's a really large image. You get a really close-up of this, which is fabulous. But you can actually download it. Now, you can only use it for non-commercial purposes, so that would be education, but keep that in mind. Don't print this out and put it on a t-shirt and sell it. But you can download the image and use it in your classroom. So this could be used in a variety of different ways, and these images are really high resolution and really fabulous images. So I know this won't be valuable for every classroom, but Cameo is one that you might just want to look at because it's just really a beautiful database. So I'm back on the list on the Elm page of all the databases, and I want to highlight another one here, Consumer Health Complete. They're professionally written information for patients and consumers. So it's written for the consumer, not for the medical professional. So this is a great database. It'll be too much for really young kids, but this could be a great database just for you or for the older student. So if you wanted to look up something, let's do, whoops, ADHD, and see what we get here. So here we get an article, and we can click on the full text, and we can then read this article about this. And a lot of the articles here are just kind of giving overviews about the causes, the factors, all of those types of things. And they even sometimes go into treatment and that kind of thing too. But it's all put into kind of a really nice package for consumers. So you know, people go online and do searches for their medical history, something bothering them, but you can sometimes get some more information here in Consumer Health Complete. So it's a good one to know about. I'm going to close this out. Now I'm back on this list again on the Elm page. And one that I think educators might be really interested in is called Educators Reference Complete. So this is professional publications across all education-related subjects. So this would not be a database for your students. This would be a database for you. If you're trying to find some of the latest publications written about a certain topic, this might be where you want to come. So Common Core is a popular search right now, so we can click on that and we can see what kind of information comes up for the Common Core. Again, this is going to be for you and not for your students, but I think it's always good to keep on top of your subject area. So this is a really fabulous database. On the home page of the database, you can just search for your articles here, put your keywords in and do a search, and then down here is where I had clicked, and that's where you can get the popular recent searches that people have done. Otherwise, just do your search here for whatever your subject area is, and you can find a lot of really great professional articles here to try to keep on top of your field. I'm going to close this out. I'm back on this list again. And the next one I want to show you, I think could be useful for either you or your students, in that there are some Spanish language periodicals available. The database is called Informe, and you can either use the English language interface or the Spanish language interface. Now, it will still be Spanish language materials even if you use the English interface, but it's just that the interface itself will be in English. Oh, did I click on? Maybe I clicked on the Spanish one. But here's where you can find periodicals in Spanish. So this might be useful for you or for some of your students. We don't have other databases. There's some other language materials in some of the databases in other languages, but not as much. We do, and this one is just for Spanish. But I just think this is a good database to know about because you might find something here for students who are learning Spanish or for students who English is their second language. There might be some valuable information here in Informe. So here's Informe again. Here's the list of databases again. I'm going to keep going down, and now I want to talk about, they're going to show us kid info bits for those of us who work with younger kids. But I'm going to show you then one called Kids Search. So there are databases designed just for kids. So Kids Search I think is great. You can do your search up here, or you can click on the subject area, and I think the pictures are really nice that can be easily understood by kids too. But we can do our search here and see what we come up with as well. And one nice thing about this database is you get all the results here in the center, but then up here you can filter your results. So if you wanted to see, well, yeah, I did want to know what was in a book or an encyclopedia. So you can click on that, and then it redoes your search, and it looks just for items from books or encyclopedias. So this is Kids Search. It's kind of a good search. It's designed for like 4th through 8th grade or so, but I think this could be useful for many different age levels. But one other great thing here in Kids Search is that you can see there's a button for teacher resources. And if you click on teacher resources, this is where you can search for more professional articles for yourself as a teacher. So this is another database that can be useful for you too, above and beyond your classroom. So let me keep going here, and I am just giving kind of brief introductions to these because I know they're not useful for every one of you. But if you see one that sounds interesting, dive into it and check it out yourself. So I'm going to go down now to Points of View Reference Center. This is where you can get pro-con essays. And so this is really fabulous for those students who are doing pro-con reports. Now in Points of View Reference Center, you can do a search for any topic that's up here. Or you can, I like to kind of browse by category, because this then also helps students narrow their topic or think about what their topic might be. So if a student does come up to you and wants to do a controversial topic like abortion, you might show them that there's other different things underneath abortion. So you can click on more and see all the different things. So maybe they'd want to look at parental consent, something like that. And what's nice is that you will get a pro-con kind of overview for some of these things. So here is the point and a counterpoint. So you get parents must be notified, and a counterpoint that it's wrong, that parents shouldn't have to be notified. So you do get a lot of things here, a point and a counterpoint for things when you're searching. I will say the ones that offer the point and counterpoint really easily, to find like that are when you click by category. If I do a search for abortion, it will search articles as well as point and counterpoint type articles too. So here you get things like overviews of them, but if you can see the counterpoint there, the point and the counterpoint. But if you go back to the home page of Points of View Reference Center and you click on it by category, you are instantly brought to the point and the counterpoint. But it's a really great database. Whether you click on a category or do a search for it, it really will give both sides of an issue, so you can look at it whether or not it's a controversial issue or not. There's a lot of issues here, and you get point and counterpoint, and it can be a really great database for students to find information like that, or like I said, even just to help them narrow down what kinds of topics they could do. I'm going to close this, and I'm back on the list of databases. And I'm going to go down to ProQuest Newsstand Complete. This might be one that could be useful for you. There are actually hundreds of newspapers in here, including the Star Tribune, the Pioneer Press, St. Cloud Times, Wall Street Journal, etc. The one that might interest you is that the Star Tribune is here. And the reason I say that is because the Star Tribune only allows you to read online for free 10 articles per device. And so if you are a person who likes to read their news online, and if the Star Tribune says, oh, you've read too many of our articles online, you can't read any more, well, come here to ProQuest Newsstand Complete and you can read every article from the Star Tribune. So here's ProQuest Newsstand Complete. And when you enter the database, it even asks you to, do you want to select different newspapers that we have here? Or, if I scroll down, here's the scroll bar for all of them. Do you want to select certain newspapers? Do you want to just select, the Star Tribune? Or do you want to leave it at all? So it's up to you if you want to leave it at all or to select certain newspapers. If you want to leave the ones selected or whichever ones you want to select after you're done, then you just click on Use Selected. So I left mine open to all. And then here's where you can come and do your search. Now, Mars rover, yes, I knew I'd get a lot of results for the Mars rover, but you can see that I am getting results, full text results from newspapers from all over. We have the San Francisco Chronicle, the Christian Science Monitor, the Chicago Tribune, the New York Times, and the New York Times also limits the amount of articles you can read when you're looking at things online. But here you can get full text access to the New York Times. So ProQuest is a really good one to know about because if you don't want to buy some of these newspapers but you still want access to some of them, you can access them through this ProQuest database. So that's ProQuest Newsstand. So I highly recommend checking that out for yourself and as well as for your students. And then the last one I will point out, because I'm getting to the end of my time here, is Searchosaurus. Searchosaurus is for the little kids. So this looks very similar to Kids Search, except this one is designed for really younger kids, kids that are 4th grade and under. And you can see you can search by Lexile number too, which a lot of people like. So you can do your search here, or you can click on the images of the different dinosaurs. So this could be a really good one to look at for younger kids. So let's do a search here for Abraham Lincoln. So you can see we have results here in the center, and you can do the same thing with results that you can choose. Oh, I want to see what came from a book or an encyclopedia, and it will resort the results to show you. And then you can just click the title or where it says HTML full text. So for those of you working with younger students, I suggest checking out Searchosaurus, limiting by Lexile number to see if you can find things that would be useful and the age level for your students. So it can be a really cute, fun database to use too. So there were a lot more listed. You can see I think there's 50 databases that they have, maybe more than 50. And when Minitex comes to talk to us, they're just going to show us a few databases and give us just kind of some advanced features in those few databases. And now I highlighted about 10 databases that are here, but as you can see as I scroll up, there's a lot more. And there's a lot more that could be useful for your students and could be useful for you. So I recommend that you just kind of check out this page and see what's here, because this could be a great, you could find great databases here that we did not highlight. So I'm going to go back to the Elm page and just show you where I got to here. When you enter Elm, you enter on this home page where it tells you to select a topic. But what I did is I went to Databases A to Z, and then I clicked on Databases A to Z, and that's where I was looking at this long list. And so the long list does have short descriptions of each one of these databases. So you might want to just at some point spend some time here and look at some of these. And if one of these descriptions sounds interesting, go into the database and see if it could be useful for you. So that's what we have for now. When we meet, like I said, we will have one of these people from Minitex will be coming to share with us advanced features in the databases. They will be sharing things as soon as we begin, so please come on time because we will have them start right away. We're giving them the full 2 hours to share information with you. So I will see you then, and you will see one of them leading our sessions.